Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Board of Adjustment for the City of Bettendorf, March 14th, 2024 meeting. Roll call, please.
Gallagher,
Yes.
Spranger,
Here.
Tansey,
Here.
Tombergs,
Here.
Vermillion. Here.
With full house, everybody's here. The Board of Adjustment is a 5-member board, and there are 5 of us here tonight, and we are appointed by the mayor. And we review certain matters that are properly before us, such as variances and special uses. We are normally prepared to review and vote on matters that come before us on the night they come before us. So the next item on the agenda is to review the minutes of our last meeting, which was February 15th. You've all received those minutes. Do I have any additions or corrections?
No.
If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So move.
I got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The next item on the agenda, we deferred that from last month because there weren't too many people here, but now we have a full house, is the election of officers. So I guess I'd open a nomination for chairman of the board.
So I'll nominate you, Bob,
I'll second that.
to continue as the chairman.
Okay, anyone else? Any other nominations? Anybody else wants to throw their
With clamoring.
please? Okay. I guess then there's been a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, I guess. And now an assistant chair.
I'm happy to continue in the role.
Will you? Then I will certainly nominate you as the assistant chair.
I'll
So
second
Gwen,
that.
Thank you.
and all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. The next item is case 24014. It's at 6021 Valley Drive. It's an I-2. It's a variance to reduce the required landscape buffer yard from 30 feet to 25. It's submitted by Greg Frenish. Greg Beck's going to give us a report, I think. Please do.
Mr. Chairman, this location is right here off of Valley Drive, and is a lot of record affiliated with the Fields Development Edition. Is actually Lot 8. This was platted at one time and all was one piece, and then there was a centerpiece, which we'll show later. It was platted as the second edition, which features this outlot A. Request is to reduce the landscape buffer yard from 30 to 25 feet in this area, which, but at the same time retaining the required 25-foot front yard setback. And buffer yards in this area, because it's declared a major street, Valley Drive, requires that there be 30 feet of landscape. The situation is the petitioner wants to place this structure on this lot. It is 7 contractor condominium units. Be parking inside. The coverage here is only 24% of the entire lot with the 10,300 square foot building, which is going to be 50 feet wide, 206 feet long. It meets and complies with all the standards as required by city code. Typically, there's no rear yard setback found in an I-2 district, but in this instance, there are areas back here in this blue area showing where the placement of sanitary sewer and also stormwater runoff, as well as storm sewer, which is dissipated in this area, is being facilitated because this is the lowest part of this lot. Water we're also trying to get through here is conveyed not only from this lot, but other lots to go to this outlot A, which is a detention basin. The land use is pretty much industrial throughout. Anything south of Valley Drive, we have urban low intensity land use further to the north. But this separation line has been here approximately since 1972, when this area en masse became zoned I-2 general industrial. This was I-1 and this was R2 up here to the north and then to the northwest. And as again, in the landscape ordinance mentioned earlier, a 30-foot buffer yard is usually required between R1 and I2. One looks at the lot, they'll see that out front, here's the approximate area of the property line, here's a 25-foot setback, and here's 30. This lot is pretty well, it's filled right now and it has all the proper floodplain development permits. If you come back to the rear end portion of the rear lot line area, you'll see that this tapers off, it drops off down here. This has not been filled, and this is a drainage area that conveys water over to this locale right here, which is that outlot A, which we want to facilitate. Also, the sanitary sewer connection is down in this area. And then to drain the parking lot, we want to make sure that that water comes down this direction and then is dissipated in this area before heading to outlot A. So the designs are essentially, again, what is in some cases pushing this building further to the north because it makes more sense to topography and the layout to place those type utilities into the rear lot line area. This is the first edition of the Fields Development Edition. This is lot 8 right here. This portion was not subdivided until later, but it was Fields Development Second Edition. And an outlot 8 is a regional detention mechanism was included in this area. The lot in question here, lot 8, has approximately 1 acre of ground, so it is not particularly a large lot, as one might think of some of these other lots within the industrial park. Staff in evaluating this particular setback request found 3 affirmative and no negative rulings. One was a 6125 nearby at Valley Drive. Parking was permitted within 2 feet of the property line due to the topographic limitation, and that's what we have here. Topography is more favorable for certain utilities to be installed in the rear of the lot. 4465 53rd Avenue saw that parking was placed 5 feet closer to the property line into what was the buffer yard. And then at 428 28th and a half Street, the buffer yard was reduced from 30 to 5 feet due to the lot configuration again to fit in parking. Staff reviewing this case feels that there is a hardship based on topography, utility location, and drainage facilitation. And based on those items that the petitioner's request in this instance should be granted to reduce the buffer yard from 30 to 25 feet on lot 8 of Fields Development First Edition. I would ask, are there any questions?
Any questions from the board?
No.
For Mr. Beck? Nope. Anyone in the audience wish to speak in favor of this application? Don't see any. How about anybody wish to speak opposed to it? Again, I don't see anyone. Okay, so what's the pleasure of the board?
I'll make the motion to approve case 24014. Allow the 30 down to 25 foot.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? How about a roll call vote?
Gallagher?
Yes.
Spranger?
Yes.
Tansey?
Yes.
Hamburg?
Yes.
Vermillion?
Yes.
Okay, that passes. The next case is 24016. It's 3011 Devil's Glen Road. It's a C3, and it's a variance to increase the allowable size of an on-premises identification sign from 107 square feet to 177 square feet. It's submitted by Nicole Richards for Ace Sign Display. I have a report.
Mr. Chairman, this site used to be a car wash and it has since been removed, that car wash. And as you're seeing, if you have passed recently through Devil's Glen, up Devil's Glen Road near Hy-Vee, you do see that there is a new building underway, and that is the new car wash. It is at 3011 Devil's Glen Road. It is lot 1 of Arrowhead Edition. And the request is to increase this approximately 70 square feet, the signage that is on site. The land use is community commercial, as almost everything is around here. There's a public, semi-public area here for housing. But other than that, pretty much everything is in tune with promotion of the zoning classes as they are, C3 and C2. In this instance, because a portion of this ground was C2, a special permit application was required in this body to approve that special use permit. And as such, all signage on this site will be set back 20 feet due to the setback requirements in C3 zoning. This is the approved site plan showing 2 means of entry onto the lot. There's an area here where there is a driving area, and that has somewhat pushed this building farther back, so there's better circulation in here to stack vehicles, to come into the car wash and then have them exit. So that is something that necessitated a 74-foot setback from the property line. The signage is based off of a formula essentially, and what it does, it looks at the lot width, which is 140 feet in this case, and then it looks at that distance, which is 74 feet. You combine the two of those, you come up with the figure of 214 total feet divided by 2, and that would yield you the permitted signage based on the depth of the lot and the width. Typically, if that factor was not used in the past, prior to the ordinance update in 2017, this business could have had up to 300 square feet of on-premise identification signage. However, the way the building is located, as you can see by this photo, this area here is the front of the building, but it's obscured by this building, by this tree, and also the further back you go by signage and other buildings. So as you're approaching, this delineates right here, right as you would enter Burger King, about 225 feet distance. And you still can't see the area. The future sign for a potential pole sign is right about here, where that might be placed. When you get to about the 80-foot mark, you can eventually see where the building is, and you might be able to see the frontage where that signage is going to go, or you may not. Again, this building has been recessed in order to create better circulation within the site. From 400 feet from the center line, essentially right here at Maple Crest and on down to the south, you can essentially see probably approximately where the building protrudes here. Again, the signage is not totally within view, but the building is visible at that point. So what we're trying to do is remedy the situation with the signage, given the setback of the building for the traffic approaching from the south. There was no negative precedence found in this region surrounding for about half a mile this particular site. There were cases where extra signage was granted based on visibility, and one was at 1207 Devil's Glen Road for the old Eagle Food Stores, which is now used for computer and information data storage. Also at one time, 3011 Devil's Glen Road for the prior owner of the prior car wash to accommodate a change type sign, extra signage on that sign. And then that same case cited 2 other instances where Wallace's Garden Center and Hy-Vee also received variances for increased square footage for more visibility in their particular areas. Staff, in reviewing this proposal, feels that there is a hardship given the obstruction for traffic approaching from the south and given the recessed nature of the building. So staff would support the increase in square footage of signage given the petitioner's request. I would ask her any questions.
Any questions at all?
No.
Nope. Anyone in the audience wish to speak in favor of this application? Anyone wish to speak opposed to it? Don't be shy. Nope. Okay. So there's nobody opposed or in favor of it. What's your pleasure?
I'll make a motion that we approve case 24016 for a variance in the square footage of the project to be completed there.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Right. So I have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Gallagher?
Yes.
Springer?
Yes.
Hansi?
Yes.
Hamburg?
Yes.
Vermillion?
Yes.
Okay, that one passes. The next one is case 24015. It's 5221 Competition Drive. It's a C3. It's a variance to increase the allowable height of an on-premises identification sign from 20 feet to 30 feet, and it's submitted by Acme Sign Company, Inc. Staff report, we switch staff. Go right ahead.
Making sure.
Didn't even see that.
Case 2415 is 5221 Competition Drive. It's a variance request. This is a newly developed lot just north of Forest Grove Drive and east of Middle Road. As mentioned, this variance is to allow a 30-foot sign height in lieu of the 20-foot sign height required by code. Proposal is associated with an approved McDonald's restaurant highlighted in blue here. just east of the current Betplex, and this will be just west of the Iron T development. Zoning on this location is all variant commercial. It is currently C3 general business district. Commercial development developed areas are surrounding the proposed development to the west in all directions. The approved site plan shows the sign location. The sign is shown on the northwest corner of the parking lot, so shown in red. This is now what newly finished roundabouts at Middle Road. Competition is just near the corner and near the sidewalk. It is located outside the front yard setback. There's 20-foot setback in this district. Due to that, it's allowed to be the full height and have up to its maximum allowable square footage. But we're just looking at the height of the sign right at this meeting. Proposed sign dimensions are shown. This is a pole sign type. A backlit logo would top the sign, and either backlit panels or an LED message board have been proposed for the lower part of the sign. But nevertheless, the sign height is 30 feet shown. Just to give you since we didn't have a really good aerial due to the new development, this is the new island, as I call it. Here's Competition Drive, the new roundabout on Competition in Middle, and the new roundabout on Middle and Forest Grove. So that restaurant will be located right on a corner, so that'll have very good visibility. I will touch on the applicant's comments for requesting this variance. The applicant states that their business would be at an advertising disadvantage due to the 20-foot sign height compared to a 30-foot sign height. Quick Star, which is located just across the street, across Middle Road to the west, does have a 30-foot pole sign. This was probably one of the last allowed 30-foot signs before the 2017 ordinance lowered the allowed sign height from 30 to 20 feet. So you see that sign, it's a Google Street View for the roundabouts were constructed and is due west. The current code from 2017 on is 20-foot sign height. Just want to state that. Staff acknowledges the difference in standards due to the ordinance change of 2017, but cannot identify a particular hardship to the request. On the contrary, McDonald's site is on a corner, is at a corner lot adjacent to a major roundabout. The sign location of the lot will be very visible for vehicular traffic, especially since their travel speeds are reduced by the roundabout. Now, if there is more objective sign height code alternatives, say we're dealing with a code that was adopted in 2017, but if this is a commercial area, residential areas are pretty far away. This probably would not be the body to do that with. Staff would recommend the applicant propose a sign code amendment versus granting a variance in this case. Staff contends the request does not meet requirements for granting a variance. It's recommends denial of the request. I can take any questions.
Question.
I drove out there and I forgot, I got out there and I didn't go on 80 to see if you can see the Quick Star sign from as you exit.
Yeah, that's
or not. And I went out there, I drove around, but I didn't do that. What
from the interstate.
Yeah, well, from the exits.
There's a difference in topography a little bit. You're going down.
Yes, it is kind of gonna draw.
The actual distance I know it's over 1,000 feet. It's pretty far.
Right.
But yeah, staff really analyzed adjacent properties and adjacent. We have a major arterial road right next to it, which is Middle Road. Competition is going to be, it's going to almost act like a collector in a way, a commercial collector. Especially once the development occurs, you'll have a future. If I go back to the layout, just to imagine all these new developments were approved in the last year.
Yes.
So adjacent to the proposed McDonald's is you'll have a hotel of 4 stories, I believe. Kind of walk you through. These are all commercial
Units.
Multi-unit commercial spaces, 1 story. To the north, they'll have a 2-story ORA facility. So that'll be with 2-story in height, pretty large building, 110,000 square feet. You do have very tall, now these aren't signs, these are structures for the netting of the golf course to the east. We would not allow advertising on those structures. They would still have to meet our sign code. There's no lights actually that high either. The lighting's all mounted on the building facing, I think it's second level. It's a 2-story building. And then you have it's going to be very similar, almost identical indoor sports facility, like a large pole building.
Right.
It'll look very similar to the one to the west. And I think on this particular plan, there's a few buildings missing, but they're just 1-story multi-tenant commercial spaces as well. So it kind of gives you, if you're analyzing for obstructions, anything of that nature, try to help you out with your decision.
Thank you.
Can you,
Go ahead.
can you recap, just in a sentence, why it went from 30 to 20 in 17?
Staff's research, my research, I was not able to identify. I think there was some comments from the council at that time for
Too
lack of
many?
a better term, reining in, that was proposed, but there was not a specific reason stated in the ordinance change, and I was not here at that time. So as I said, it's with signs, it's slightly aesthetics, but it's also, trying to it's trying to protect property from different, we're talking about light, obstruction, property values, all those things. That's why zoning regulates signs, trying to protect those things. Safety is also a big part. I don't think in this case, a 30 versus 20-foot sign has a safety issue. If it's too low, that's when we get into our sightline distances. So monument signs sometimes are quite large, and we have to, even if it meets all of our code, if it doesn't meet that particular part, we'll have to move it back. And on a roundabout, when you have multiple intersections, you don't want that to interfere. I don't think lighting in this case will be, it'll have some additional, I guess, illumination based on the height, but in this area, you'll have a lot of light. So, but addressing, going through the board for a variance in this case, if we gave a variance for this specific structure, this request, this would set the precedence for going through all of these other.
Right.
Just the staff does acknowledge that there's a kind of a difference here.
But it's directly on the roundabout, that corner.
It is on the roundabout.
Yeah.
Say if this were an interior lot, or given its location, I feel its staff's analysis feels that it's going to have very good views.
Mr. Chairman, Taylor and I talked a lot about this case, and I think the rule changed. It's clear it's not a scrivener's error. It was intentional by the council to change that rule. We're the arbiters of their rules. We did look for hardship, and you can go down the road of what ifs, but there's not a hardship that we could find. Like say the netting was opaque and the netting kept you from seeing the sign. Well, maybe that's a difference. Or there was really tall buildings blocking it. The 2017 code in 2017 made a change. So the variance has to be, per our law, has to be based on a hardship.
Mhm.
We can't find a hardship in this case. If the petitioner wants to challenge it and maybe suggest a text amendment to code, they could do that. There's a process for that, and we've encouraged them to go that route as well. But staff doesn't find a hardship.
Any other questions?
Nope.
Anyone wish to speak in favor of the application? Yes, sir.
Hello, my name is Austin Smith.
Would you do me a favor and go to the podium in the back so that we can record this for posterity? Thank you.
No problem. Can you hear me?
Sure.
My name is Austin Smith. Just became a McDonald's owner operator January 1st of this year. I'm a local resident. The McDonald's I own is the LeClaire Iowa McDonald's. I live in LeClaire. I'm purchasing this new Bettendorf McDonald's. I hope in the future to own all of the Bettendorf McDonald's once Joe Stanky retires. So hopefully I'm with you guys for a long time. And I don't mean to be a pain in the butt here, but I've been doing this for almost 20 years, and my parents have been doing this for over 40. And the larger road sign you have is just better for advertisement. We've changed road signs in the past from 10 foot to 20 foot and 20 foot to 30 foot, and it always increases sales. I want to be a part of this community. I want to be a, benefactor of this community and be involved. And I feel like I'm at a disadvantage when one of my biggest competitors in Quick Star or convenience store gas station has a 30-foot sign, and I'm only going to have a 20-foot sign. I feel like that's going to affect me. Not only that, but there's a huge hotel going on right next to me. There's strip malls behind me. And if I've gone back there and spent a lot of time out there, and if you walk back there, a 20-foot sign versus a 30-foot sign is so much more visible from the other side of those strip malls. And then they have those 150-foot. I know you said there's a net there, but there's going to be a lot of illumination. I don't know if you guys have ever played at a Topgolf or something like that, but there's a lot of illumination that comes out of there. So from the other side, it's going to be really hard to see. So also, when it comes to the light, we're not a 24-hour restaurant. I know a lot of McDonald's are, but that's not my business philosophy. We close at 11 p.m. and we open at 5 a.m. And so I know Quick Star is an overnight business as well, so that light's on all night. And so I understand that there was a change in the rules, but I feel like that I will be at a disadvantage as a part of this community, as a business member in this community. I think that I should have the 30-foot sign. So I appreciate your time, and
Thank you.
thank you.
Anybody else want to speak in favor of it? Yes, sir.
I'm Craig Jarvis with Acme Sign, and I came along here. Actually, the design on the sign there, the red part where the McDonald's arches are is aluminum. And the only thing that's going to light up on the top of that is the golden arches itself. And down below, you see the 3 panels down below. Austin has not decided which one he's going to use, but from what I understand, that will not light up either. So the only thing that's really going to light up on this thing at night while he's there is the arches itself. So that's all I have to add. Besides being his own lot, he owns that lot, period, where a lot of these other developments are multi-tenants. This is his own lot himself, so he's trying to draw business into his.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone wish to speak opposed to the application? See anybody there either? Okay. Any questions or from the board?
No.
Read votes. Anybody have a motion they'd like to make?
I did. I'm going to make the motion that we approve or deny the variance for case 24015. It sounds like, Mark, you guys have laid out a path of a way that they can go a different direction. It just looks like our hands are tied by the code.
Right, and just for everybody's edification, when we say hardship, we could see the point there would be a hardship to the business. If you have a smaller sign, you get less business. That makes sense to me. The hardship that we have to follow per the law that we're interpreting here is a hardship based on the lay of the land, not caused by the developer himself. So for example, something like topography or drainage that would make it difficult to place the sign where you wanted to place it, those type of things. So maybe the path forward, if this vote's going to go the way I think it's going to go, would be for the petitioner to seek a text amendment change to our code and run that through our city council. That's another process. Staff hasn't analyzed that, so I don't know where we come out on it. But that's another avenue to maybe more appropriately address this, because your decisions are based on a hardship of the land that would allow a variance to occur, and a hardship of the land doesn't occur here, in my opinion. Certainly, I understand the hardship of if I have a smaller sign, less people can see me, and less people are going to come to me, and I concede that point. I think that's fair, but that's not a reason you can use in making your decision today, unfortunately.
Yeah, I would want the sign too if it was my business, but I'm
Absolutely.
not comfortable setting that precedent that everybody's going to have a 30-foot sign then if
I think we
if we
kick this
make
one back to
that,
council to
that's the
code.
problem.
Yeah. And they made that reason, it was before Taylor and I's time here, but they made that decision for some reason, so they can reconsider.
Okay.
And that process will be a little longer, but we can look at everything associated with it.
Yes.
And you might be able to craft some language that applies to a sign in that sort of situation versus a sign in front of my house. I mean, I know that says makes sense,
It's a
but
better
yeah,
environment to.
yeah, different environments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good enough.
Go
So,
ahead.
I'm just curious of the text amendment. What's the time period on that? Because I have to have this building built in 60 more days or 70 more days.
It's not gonna be that fast. You're gonna have probably 3 readings, so you're gonna have 3 council meetings to get that through.
And I have to have the sign up because I don't know if you guys know this. I don't know if you've ever worked in restaurant business, but it's hard to staff. After COVID, it's even harder to staff in this area with the income level, with as high as it is, it's even harder to staff. Kids, I get a lot of my, 16, 17, 18-year-old kids going through college. In that area, they just don't need the money like they do in other areas. It's just what it is. I've been doing this for a long time. It's gonna be a super hard location to staff. I don't have the time to do the text, or else I would. And from hearing you guys speak, it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of reason for the 30-foot rule. Anyway, so you're saying that I should amend to get that text changed, right?
That would be
That's the way to go.
So it just doesn't seem like there's a reason other than it's just a rule you don't want to change. I understand your difficulty position, and I'm not trying to be difficult. And I know that other people might want a bigger sign now because I'm getting one and it's setting precedent, but I can't take that route because I have to have this building up. My open date is June 1st. And if I don't have that sign where the people are going to see that and go apply for a job, I can't wait. I have to have the sign up. So.
But should it change in the future, he could change out the sign to a larger sign in the future.
Raise it up.
Tens of thousands of dollars.
That's an expensive.
And
And I appreciate it. I
Right.
appreciate what the situation is, but hopefully you can appreciate we can't
We don't have
change.
the authority.
The code is set. We just have to interpret the code, and the code's there.
I understand.
And that's kind of where we're at. So
He just made it to seem like there was no big deal. So if I went with the text amendment change, I could get it done. I just don't understand why we can't bypass that process if that's gonna happen anyways.
That's a legislative process of council. They make the rules, not us.
So it's a quasi judicial board. So they're looking at literally like measuring that while going through council, they change law. And
Okay.
that's the avenue. And I think there's a lot
Understand.
more options.
Understand, just frustrating.
Yep, very.
I would agree. I
Motion.
will,
Did you do a second or?
I didn't do it. I made the motion.
You made motion.
I will second it.
And Jim will second it. Okay, roll call.
Gallagher,
Yes.
Springer.
Yes.
Tansy,
Yes.
Tomberg.
Yes.
Vermillion.
Yes. The next item is case 24017. It's 3636 Tanglewood Road. It's a C1. Special use permit to allow a miniature golf course. And it's submitted by Craig Wagner.
Thank you, Chair.
Craig's in here.
36 Tanglewood Road, it's a special use permit. Applicant is Craig Wagner, owner of the Tanglewood Restaurant. The request is for a special use permit to allow a miniature golf course in the C1 district. The site development plan proposes an 18-hole mini golf course with associated lighting, landscaping, and artificial turf. For those that view, here's Tanglewood located on Devil's Glen and Tanglewood Road. Zoning for the area, current zoning is C1, Neighborhood Business District. A miniature golf course is defined as a commercial recreation controlled impact use, and this use does require a special use permit in this district. It's a permitted use in C2 and C3. Surrounding developments include C1, so commercial and industrial to the north, and then residential PUD to the west. I will note there is one residential development that's on C1 directly south. We have townhomes right here. So that's kind of hidden. Developments consist of civic uses, storage areas, and residential townhomes. So we have the YMCA, townhomes. We have a PV bus barn and a public works actually to the northeast. So the existing site is, I should mention the existing outdoor uses at the Tanglewood include bar patio, evening music, events, yard games, fire pits. A meadow exists farther east where the proposed miniature golf course is proposed. City of Bettendorf owned property farther east contains a parking lot which is leased by the restaurant. The golf course would only be allowed in the restaurant property, so there's a site plan that shows it on that property, that would need to change. This board is more looking at the overall use, externalities, not necessarily, there's a little two holes that go over into that property, so that need to be changed. More analysis of the existing site. As mentioned, it has the parking lot to the east, shown with 52 spots. That lease agreement only allows for parking. Other off-street parking for the Tanglewood is provided at the following locations. They have 145 spaces on their own property. And they also have a shared parking agreement with the YMCA to the south. And they have 277 spots. Per code, analyzing all the uses there. So we have outdoor patio, we have music event, we have general restaurant. Adding all that up, the venue now currently requires 372 spaces per our code. An additional 18 are required for the miniature golf course. It's one per hole. So as mentioned, the meadow, you can see the overlay of the golf course layout. The meadow exists where the proposed golf course is proposed. Fence is proposed to surround the miniature golf course, which would then be accessible. So the golf course would be accessible from the restaurant area. You have one entrance where the current entrance is, and then you would go farther east. So it would have some containment. Again, staff is recommending that the golf course be located completely on the restaurant property. That's more for the site plan phase if approved by the board tonight. The overall increase in customers and intensity, staff would contend, is small relative to the 1,250 person occupancy of the existing site. So you have an 18-hole miniature golf course. We don't really have an occupancy calculation for that. Our parking says 18 cars, but we'll say 4 people per hole. That's pretty busy. You can kind of think of that as an added customer base, but that would also be music's going on. You'd have to think of all these events and these kind of alter. This is going to be kind of a background thing, another amenity to do while it's nice outside. Looking more at the rendering and the layout, noise from the miniature golf course is expected to be limited. This is especially true given relative to the existing uses present on the property compared to some of the events going on and the music. It's going to be much lower than that. There has been proposed, this isn't shown necessarily on here, but there might be some music I guess you'd say landscape, speakers and rocks per se. That can be altered by the owner and the staff. So, and we will remind that we do have a noise ordinance and that needs to be adhered despite the special use permit. So that's one noise element. The hours of operation, that wasn't really discussed. The board, this is just a suggestion, but the board may explore conditioning hours of certain noise or how long the lights are on. Events outdoors, or at least music events, are limited to 10 p.m. at the site right now. I don't think people playing golf is similar to that intensity, but it's something to consider. It's definitely in your power. The lighting on the course are 3-foot lighting posts as shown on the little green lighting posts. So those will have downward illumination on the course after dark. These are not like a parking lot lights or anything like that. So it's going to be very kind of like what you see in a landscape yard, I guess. And this is all artificial turf, except for the walkways. So and it has drainable base, and that's all been submitted as well. Not probably under this board's purview. In analyzing special use permits, we have a 9-question standard. Much of that was addressed in my presentation. I will address things such as, is it allowed use in the target district? It is. It applies to the zoning regulations except for that some of the conditions cited by staff as far as moving that golf course on the property. Staff contends there's higher intensities on the property. So if this is in harmony with the use of the site. It's not adding a higher intensity that's going to impact the residential neighbors to the south even more, or have a negative externality, and not degrade the character or harmony of the site. It won't discourage development in nearby or adjacent sites. Staff did address the parking. It is still parked. It has much more parking with that agreement in place with the YMCA. Addressing any devaluing of surrounding properties. It'll have sufficient buffering and screening. It already has a parking lot separating it from Tanglewood Road. And then there's also trees on that location that screen that area from Tanglewood Road. And then the residential area is farther south. East is the city's property, and it's actually industrial, kind of underutilized. And then also to the north is the same situation. It's Pleasant Valley, the bus barn. So staff contends that it's minimizing negative externalities, and if the special use permit were to be approved. This is consistent with the comprehensive plan showing as commercial district or commercial area, and it supports attract and retain business and industry as a goal. And given all that, staff contends all special use standards are met and recommends approval of the request. I can take any questions.
Any questions?
Is there a sidewalk? I didn't look at the thing.
The location of the golf course is Meadow. The sidewalk is right here.
Okay,
I believe they propose to have a walkway. I'm not sure if it's going to, that will be kind of in the building site plan phase, as far as meeting ADA standards and all those things. But I believe there'll be an interior walkway as well. But it's adjacent to the current
way
site.
up there and the comings and goings along there, it would seem that,
As far as the
And
So the
parking.
sidewalk,
Oh,
he just
you're
showed
talking
you,
about
that's,
the
that's an
north-south.
interior
it's a
sidewalk.
service walk, yeah.
Yeah, interior private sidewalk,
okay,
adjacent
no,
to
I was
parking lot.
asking.
There's
more
not a
about-
sidewalk being added at the right of way.
No, there's no right of way additions here. There's actually that's actually a trail, I believe, or it's a large sidewalk. There's a sidewalk on both
On the
sides.
north side, on the north side of Tanglewood,
Yeah.
yeah. There is.
This is toward back behind the building and the
Yeah,
parking
so,
lot and stuff.
yeah,
Yeah,
just for everyone.
I got it, I got it.
Sidewalk.
Everyone's knowledge, this is
Yep.
really what we're looking at right here. is
Yeah.
this
Yep,
area.
yep. I got it.
And then this area right here that's all city property. And you go farther north, that's the maintenance center and our parks maintenance area, and then public works and planning department.
Okay.
Fine, I'm in favor of the project. My only fear is the parking spots, and as long as they don't go away, you'll be in good shape, but that'll be a problem, so. But they know that, so.
So I think we did talk about that, and we're requiring evidence of those agreements as part, well, one's with the city, so of course we have the evidence
Sure,
of that parking agreement,
yeah,
but the parking agreement with the
Y.
YMCA as well. With any user in town or any business in town, if they suddenly lost their access to parking or removed parking, then their use would be subject to that change, and they would have to accommodate
Right.
less parking with probably less intense use. I certainly hope that doesn't happen, because I think we all believe this is a really nice business to have in town, but they are required to meet that parking count. And if they can't, then that use would be impacted.
Yep.
Or other uses would be impacted on that site. And that's just the rules.
yep,
Like
hopefully
anybody
that
else.
won't happen, because it is a great facility for the community.
Yeah, no
And Mark,
kidding.
correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we currently have no parking on Tanglewood at this location.
Correct.
Not
On
supposed
the
to.
road. No.
So not an enforcement issue, but yes.
Oh, didn't you?
So,
Good thing you didn't see my truck.
yes, and previously Tanglewood was not improved. It was not curb and gutter. You had ditches and you had a shoulder, so it's very easy to park on. Now at the curb and gutter, you're really hopping on the curb into a boulevard, really, or grass. Given that you have Devil's Glen Road, which is obviously no parking, without that YMCA spot or our spot, they're very isolated for expansion of parking. We have similar situations in other parts of town where when you go to a place and it's full,
You're walking a block. Yeah.
or you could do that. Yeah, I mean, there has been events here, but so we don't think that parking on,
Parking right there.
we get in some situations where there's over parking from one business to another business property. In this case, they have an agreement for that.
But the
It's
guys,
contract.
when they expand here, they may take.
No, that's not our problem.
No, I know. Okay, any other questions? How about anybody in the audience want to talk in favor of it? You want to say anything? Okay, all right, very good. Any other questions from the board?
No,
How about a motion to approve or deny?
I'll make the motion to approve case 24-017 to allow the special use permit.
A second.
I have a motion and a second. How about roll call, please?
Gallagher?
Yes.
Spranger,
Yes.
Hansi,
Yes.
Kronberg,
Yes.
Vermillion.
Yes.
Okay. We're all
Yeah.
done. Thank you for coming. Nice to have a full house.